The way I would think broadly about prep, so
Yeah.
for a student who needs to improve on all three sections, the place that I encourage people to start with is verbal.
Okay.
And you wanna work on everything probably from the very, very start, but often verbal is the thing that takes the longest amount of time to improve. So when you think about reading comprehension, okay, it's reading passages and what is it? How do you improve at that? It takes
Hmm.
time. A lot of it is maybe your reading in English needs to get better. That could be one possibility. And if that's the case, you're going to need a lot of practice. Another possibility is that you struggle to kind of calibrate, well, how am I reading? What am I reading for? What am I looking for? What kind of notes do I take? And even if your fundamental reading skills are really, really strong, meaning that you read a passage, you read a paragraph, you read a sentence, and you very consistently, even a really hard paragraph or whatever, you consistently understand exactly what the author means. Not just kind of, but you really get exactly what they mean. Even if that's the case and your reading skills are phenomenal, sometimes it takes some calibration to say, yeah, but I don't read like this or answer questions like this in real life. Like in our day-to-day work, it's just not what we do. So sometimes it takes time to sort of figure out, am I obsessing over every single detail? Hopefully no. Am I skimming it the way you might in real life? If you have a corporate job, tons of stuff lands on your plate every day. And if you're not skimming some of it pretty aggressively, probably can't function at work. That's the world we live in. Same thing with things we might consume in our spare time. If you're reading through your news feed, I think we all skim now, and that's good. Well, you can't really do that on a standardized test where they're going to ask you, these hyper specific things, or better still, to really understand broadly, okay, why did the author write this whole thing? What does this add up to? So it sometimes takes the most time. First thing is I want students to be prepared to really invest time consistently from the very, very start on reading comp and critical reasoning. If you're amazing at it from the start, fantastic, but I'd still keep practicing it a little bit. But that's a thing that just takes the most time to practice, and you can't binge on it. There's nothing to learn. Like you can say, I'm studying the formulas for reading comprehension today. There's no such thing. So that's usually the slowest burn. So it's usually the
Okay.
first place I encourage people to look. Quant, probably the most, obviously people are going to be all over the place depending on their quant background. Some people are
Hmm.
going to already know virtually all of the content they need. And then it's just a question of getting used to the GMAT's question style. So how do they test these things that you know really well? For other people, you're really rebuilding the foundations. So quant is kind of the area where there's the biggest amount of variety in terms of how long do you need to study in order to get to whatever your goal might be. Let's say to improve by 5 points or 10 points on the quant section. People might be all over the place. Maybe it's just calibrating to the test. Maybe it's
Hmm.
you need 6 months of relearning your algebra or whatever. Verbal, I think it's really crucial to use official questions only. So the people who write these tests, they spend about $3,000 roughly developing and testing and honing every individual test question. When you think about what test prep companies can do, it's going to be a tiny fraction of that. Verbal, if you're practicing with non-official questions, you're going to kind of get the wrong idea of what it's really about. So always use
Hmm.
official stuff. If you need more than just the GMAT official questions, you can use LSAT questions. They're very, very similar for reading comp and critical reasoning.
Hmm.
Quant, if you need some extra practice material from whatever test prep company you'd like, that's totally fine. That's healthy. That can be
Okay.
okay. But quant, you're going to have a ton of variety there. Now, data insights, I guess the one big piece of advice there is it's an adaptive test. So Chucky, since you're an engineer, I'll pick on engineers. So we've seen I don't know, probably 30% of our students have some sort of engineering technology kind of background, maybe more than that. And a good number of them don't perform very well in the quant section when they come in. And it's almost never because they don't know math. I mean, most of these guys have studied much more advanced math than most of our tutors. Certainly more than me, right? And that's awesome. And then they struggle on the test. And when they do, it's usually one of two things. It's careless errors. And on an adaptive test like the GMAT, the test is trying to find the level of question at which you get half right, half wrong, roughly. So if you get questions right, you'll see harder questions. If you get questions wrong, you'll see easier ones. So the test doesn't know why you missed it. So if you just did something silly and you decided, 4 times 9 is 35, the test goes, oh, no, Chucky, not for you. Like, we're going to give you easier stuff. And it doesn't take very many of those sloppy errors. You can miss all the hard ones you want. You miss the easy ones, you get into trouble. So on quant, the most important thing by far is make sure that you're really disciplined about making sure you don't make silly errors. Check your work, read twice. By far the most important thing. And you can afford to let go of some of the questions that are tougher for you. And when I see engineers, for example, people who are great at math,
Hmm.
struggle on the GMAT quant section, that's usually it. There can be other things, but that is almost overwhelmingly the reason why somebody who goes, wait, I thought I was good at math. I have a degree in economics, engineering, whatever, and they go take the GMAT and go, I just scored 40th percentile. What happened? It's careless errors because the test just clobbers you for them. So as you study, it's less about, hey, I'm going to learn a bunch of content, and it's more about, can I execute really well every time? And if I know what I'm doing, I'm going to nail it. And that's the big secret. I don't like using that word, but I've seen people with pretty weak math skills who ended up struggling in business school coursework get really, really good scores. And I've seen engineers with amazing quant backgrounds really struggle to break through, just because sometimes on these adaptive tests, it's execution. And usually where we see those problems is more in quant than on the other two sections.
If you're ready to embark on the exciting journey of graduate admission in the United States, make sure you're fully prepared by downloading our free ebook, The International Student's Guide to Studying in the United States. Inside, you will find a comprehensive roadmap detailing everything you need to know to succeed. So don't miss out. Click the link in the description section below to download your free copy now.